Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Matt Bernier, Mike Beer. The Friday race of the day, of course, is the Grade 1 $1.25 million Kentucky Oaks for 3-year-old fillies. Let's take a look at this field. They're going to travel 9 furlongs. It's carded as race number 11 on the Friday Churchill card. You can access free formulator past performances for this race on the Race of the Day event page at DRF.com. Download them, handicap along with us. We'll take the field in post position order, beginning with the Rail Runner, the number 1 out for a spin, Matt. This horse has gotten good. She's won 3 out of her last 4 races. She beat 3 of these common foes last time out when pulling off a shocking upset in the Grade 1 Ashland, and she went pretty quick on the front end in doing so. A lot of folks thought, though, that the track at Keeneland favored front runners that day.
Well, and the other thing for me, I know she has a little bit of tactical ability. She can be forwardly placed like she was in the Ashland. Boy, that 88 buyer seems like it kind of came out of left field, and her best runs prior to that race came on either sloppy sealed or muddy sealed goings. There's a chance that there's going to be weather in the forecast for the Oaks on Friday anyway, so that won't hurt her. But I guess for me, even at 15-1, I kind of want her to prove that Ashland was not a fluke.
Yeah, that's really seems like the case with her. I mean, she was a huge price for a reason in that race, even though she had won a couple of races prior to that. Both of those wins at off-the-turf races. We'll just see if she can take a step forward again. I don't think drawing the rail with all the other speed in this race did her any favors either, but she did run pretty well last time to win the Ashland.
She likes to be close to the pace. Conversely, the number 2, Chocolate Kisses, likes to make one run from the back of the pack. She's kin to Synchrony, that top-level turf horse, and this horse has been equally good on turf and dirt. She took advantage of a hot pace scenario and a clever ride by Orlando Mojica to win the Grade 3 Honeybee 2 starts back, Mike. Last time out in the Ashland, well, I don't really think she got the right setup.
Yeah, maybe she didn't get the right setup, but she also did no running in the Ashland last time. We'll see if she can get a similar setup on Saturday or on Friday as she got in the Honeybee, because she got a huge pace and she closed it down. Personally, I sort of feel like she's going to be a better turf horse down the line, but she does have a win on dirt, and she did it with the kind of setup she might get again on Friday.
And that's kind of the way that I looked at it. That run 2 starts back, sure, there was a hot pace, but there's probably going to be another pretty swift pace here in this race on Friday afternoon. If anyone wants to give her the benefit of the doubt and say maybe she didn't like Keeneland, maybe the track was against her, I'm not going to stop you. 20-1, use her. I think she's interesting underneath.
Matt, let's talk about the 3 Lady Apple, who's just rolled in her last 3 races for Steve Asmussen, her last 2 around 2 turns, and this is a very professional daughter of Curlin. Last time out, the rail opened up. She got a good pace set up when Motion to Motion went fast as usual, but she shot on through. She was unfazed by being down on the rail, so this inside post position doesn't bother me too much.
No, and I have to be honest, the fact that she was in as tight as she was, that's why I like her as much as I do. I just felt like that was a very uncomfortable position. She didn't have to go on with it. And usually to me, that's a sign of a battle-hardened horse. And I like the fact that she's not going to sort of wilt at the sign of any kind of adversity in a spot like this. She does need to take another step forward, but what she's done thus far as a 3-year-old, I have no reason to believe she won't.
Yeah, Asmussen's it seems like he's got a lot of horses that look like this running this week, and a lot of horses who have really improved. She's one of those. I like all of her last 3 races. I thought she ran well in all of them. I do think maybe she took advantage a little bit last time, but she feels to me like she could take another step forward in this race.
Mike, the morning line favorite, the one they're all going to have to defeat, is the number 4, Bella Fina. She is a 3-time Grade 1 stakes winner. Now, she's shipped to Churchill Downs in the past when she was the beaten favorite in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. It was reported that she was in season, so maybe there was an excuse for that race. She's been good in her last few races. I wouldn't say brilliant, and I think there are still some question marks regarding her ability to go the 9 furlongs, especially if she has to push a hot pace.
Yeah, I mean, that's the real question with her. She's obviously very talented, and she's the right morning line favorite for the race. She's a 3-time Grade 1 winner already. She's a really good horse, and, you know, while she has speed, I don't think she absolutely needs the lead to be effective. So I think she can get the right trip in this race, possibly. It's just a question of whether you think at 9 furlongs you want her at a really short price. Personally, I don't. We'll see if somebody can step up and beat her. I don't think it's any coincidence that the 2 fastest races on her card are the 2 times they've sprinted her.
The other thing, too, for me with her, you're right, she deserves to be the favorite, no question about it, but there is a part of me that's starting to wonder, when is she going to take a big step forward? Maybe she doesn't need to win this race, but her second run as a 2-year-old, she earned a 94, and to date, that's only 1 point off of her fastest race lifetime. I want to see her take that next step forward. Maybe it's going to be Friday, maybe it won't. At a short price, I can go elsewhere. I don't need her at this 2-1.
The number 5 is Fleur de la Mar. No match for Bella Fina last time out in the Santa Anita Oaks, but let's just consider it was only her 3rd lifetime start, her first start around 2 turns. She seems to have a ton of upside, and she's trained by the great Bob Baffert. We have a formulator fact for Fleur de Lamar. Of course, Baffert does well at Churchill Downs. Past 5 years, 3-year-old dirt riders in graded stakes at Churchill, 22%, 235 ROI. Not just the Derby. Abel Tasman won the Kentucky Oaks for Baffert a few years ago. That being said, Matt, this filly's got to improve a lot.
Yeah, she certainly does. But I will say, the word was kind of out on her when she debuted. And then even in that second lifetime start, I suppose I want to give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she didn't like the wet track that could end up working against her on Friday if it comes up that way. And the Santa Anita Oaks, no match for Bellafina. But to me, this is a confident move that they're going to go right into a race like this. They could have easily sort of backtracked a little bit, got some more confidence into her. Instead, they throw her to the Wolves. Look, I don't love her, but I wouldn't be stunned if she ran pretty well in here.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with her. I mean, it's Baffert. You don't want to just totally dismiss a horse like her, lightly raced with pedigree and a ton of upside. I personally have no interest in her at all on Friday, but I will keep my eye on her down the road.
No questions about distance for our next entrant, the number 6, Positive Spirit. Of course, she's got the big pedigree, but her 2 best races have come at 1 1/8. She won the Grade 2 Demoiselle, and she looked good doing it at Aqueduct. And last time out in the Gazelle, Mike, she looked like she got back to form. Now, she got away with a nice, easy pace and probably a subpar edition of the Gazelle. She's going to have to come from further off of it this time.
Yeah, we'll see if she can settle further away from the pace and still make that kind of a run. She's done that in the past, so I think she can get the right trip. I guess the real question is, how good do you really think she is? I personally liked her Demoiselle. I thought she ran well in there. She didn't run that well last time. I mean, that was a very rated pace. The horse that beat her, Always Shopping, who for some reason decided to pass up this race, just sat up there with her the entire way and easily outfinished her. She's got to take a big step forward here.
I thought the Demoiselle was a good effort. I thought she was terrible in the Rachel Alexandra, and then they came back in that most recent run. And sure, she finished second. There was a moderate pace that day, and I thought it was a bit of a stagger fest at the end. 30-1, I don't want her.
Matt, which jaywalk's going to show up on Friday for the Kentucky Oaks? Is it going to be the 2-year-old filly champion of 2018 who won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies in impressive fashion over the Churchill Downs Strip? Or is it the filly we've seen this year? And she's run just okay both times, certainly below expectations when you consider she was 1-5 in the Devona Dale, even money in the Ashland. She's now going to have to stretch out to 1 1/8 in a race with other speeds. I guess John Service is going to say, listen, each race has been a slow progression, and now she's ready for the big move forward.
Yeah, I mean, to me, she's kind of, I don't want to call her the X factor in the race, but if she shows up with her best race, it's right there. And at a decent price in a spot like this, I just have been so disappointed in her 2 starts here as a 3-year-old. It's difficult for me to make just drawing lines through them saying, no big deal. Now she's going to run her best. I haven't seen it thus far as a 3-year-old. I'll let her beat me in this spot.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I mean, I guess I'm just not a big enough, horse for course kind of person, where I know she ran huge at Churchill last year, but it's also worth mentioning that she had run great in all of her prior starts last year, too, before the Breeders' Cup. I think she's been less than okay so far this year. I think she's been bad in both of her starts. I don't want her on Friday.
Let's take a look at the Timeform U.S. pace projector for this race. And as we discussed in the post position recap yesterday, we expect there to be a lot of pace. This is a red bar scenario indicating a fast pace, but the fastest speed of the speed, Mike, might very well be Motion in Motion. Those are some very gaudy Timeform U.S. pace figures for some of her races, and she's still hung in there really gamely in both the Honeybee and the Fantasy. Now, can she get 9 furlongs with another fast pace scenario?
I mean, that's the real question with her. I mean, this is a very tough spot for her, considering her running style with all the other speed in the race. I personally don't think there's any way to deny that she was best in both the Fantasy and the Honeybee, even though she didn't win either of those. But that's that's her. She's just a fast horse, and she wants to go out there on the lead and go fast paces, and that can work against you, especially when you're facing good horses. And she's facing good horses on Friday. I like this horse, guys. I think all 4 of her last 4 races are really good, and I think she's dangerous in here.
The talent is obvious, and she's run too well to be losing these races in her most recent goes. The problem is kind of what you laid out, Dan. Boy, you're going to have to deal with another fast pace, and you got to go an extra 16th of a mile. Look, if you're going to get 15-1, I think that's very, very fair for a horse that you can make an argument is one of, if not the most talented naturally here in this field. That's including a Bellafina and some of these other girls. But just the way the pace looks like it's going to set up on paper, I kind of agree with it. I'm going to go against her.
Matt, the number 9, Lior, is best known for her gate-to-wire upset win in the Grade 2 Goldenrod Stakes at Churchill Downs last year, albeit over a sloppy track. Now, she had everything her own way that day. She just got able to get away to a nice, easy early lead over that wet track, and she held off Restless Rider, who might have been a little bit tired coming off the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. She has learned to rate Tazliora as a 3-year-old. I think it served her well. I just haven't seen that big forward move.
Yeah, she just hasn't gotten any faster, and that's kind of a difficult thing to deal with here in a race like this where there are so many other fast horses, talented runners. I still think she's at her best when she's out there on the front end. I don't think she's fast enough to make the front. In a race like this, I don't want her.
Yeah, maybe I could get behind her if she had won the Fairgrounds Oaks last time, but when you go back and watch that race, I mean, after Serengeti Empress didn't fire in that race, what excuse did she have not to win that day? She got a perfect trip, was no match for the winner Street Band. I can't make a case for this horse.
The number 10 is Champagne Anyone. And Mike, despite the fact that she won her first start against winners around 2 turns at Keeneland, earlier this year, you and I, in discussing Champagne Anyone, thought that she might be best as a late-running 1-turn horse. Well, she got it done last time out in the Grade 2 Gulfstream Oaks, going 1 mile and a 16th 2-turn race. It was her first race with blinkers. She showed improved early interest. I liked the way she collared that pace setter turning into the lane, and then she held off a very promising runner at the end. I think she can get another 16th of a mile. She has a versatile running style. I think she's coming into this race the right way off a fast race.
Yeah, I agree with all that stuff. I mean, I think there's just a lot of ways to look at her and feel like she is a really big contender in this race. I think she has every bit of right to win this race as just about anybody else in here. I think she can get the right trip. She got a perfect trip when she won last time, but she showed she can get the 2 turns. As you say, she beat a good horse, too. I think this horse is a very big contender in here.
I think the blinkers going on helped her. She certainly took a step forward from a time form standpoint and also from a buyer standpoint, although a little bit on the lighter side from a buyer move forward. I just think, again, like you guys laid out, she should work out a good trip in here. She's in great form. She goes out for good connections. I think there's a lot of reasons to like Champagne Anyone.
Matt, we have seen a lot of upsets with the 3-year-old fillies in the run-up to the Kentucky Oaks. Jeltrin, the number 11, was 51-1 when she defeated a blinker-less Champagne Anyone in the Grade 2 Devona Dale. Now, that race was around 1 turn. And she's going to have to come into this race now without any sort of 2-turn experience and also off a 2-month layoff.
Yeah, boy, there's a lot of things going against her. And you brought up the big thing for me. She was 51-1 for a reason in the Devona Dale. And I know she won that race and defeated Champagne Anyone, but that was before Champagne Anyone got back out to 2 turns with the blinkers on. And 2 starts back in the Forward Gal, she was 1,000,000-1, and that race has not come back all that strong. Feedback is disappointed. Bye Bye Jay is just a little bit subpar compared to these girls. If you take 15, I think you should be getting 3 times that price.
Yeah, I agree with all that stuff. I mean, I know she ran a 91 buyer last time, but 15-1 is not a good price on this horse. She has to take a huge step forward.
Mike, the number 12 is Street Band, and this is a filly that would appreciate a good pace up front. She pulled off a 10-1 upset in the Grade 2 Fairgrounds Oaks last time out. But the story of that race, I think, was that Serengeti Empress, the heavy favorite, bled and had to be vanned off the track. Somebody had to win the Fairgrounds Oaks. It was Street Band.
Yeah, I mean, she definitely took advantage last time. I mean, I guess you can say, for one thing, she ran a lot better than Leora did because they both got, very good trips in that race, and she was an easy winner at the end of the day. Other than that, though, I don't really see the race that makes her a contender. Maybe the Fairgrounds Oaks, even with Serengeti Empress not firing, maybe that was an indication that she's headed the right way. She took a step forward there. I have no problem if you're looking at her that way, but I think she has to improve again.
Yeah, the other thing for me, I look at it, you take a comparison of the 2 speed figures that we're looking at from a time form standpoint, from a buyer standpoint. She didn't move up that much from a time form perspective. From a buyer standpoint, she moved up 9 points. I'm leaning more toward the time form rating here. I don't think she's fast enough.
Matt, you mentioned the jaywalk might be the X factor in this race. I counter that the 13 Serengeti Empress is the X factor in this race because when she's right, she's capable of doing some really good things out there on the racetrack, such as winning the Pocahontas at Churchill Downs by almost 20 lengths last year. Her last race, she bled in the Fairgrounds Oaks. It's not the kind of race you want to use as a final prep leading into the Kentucky Oaks. And it also could be argued that she's at her best when she controls the pace. And with motion emotion in here, I'm not sure how she gets the lead unless she's on an all-out mission.
Yeah, and that's why I'm just way against her in this spot, not just because of the bleeding in the most recent race, but you brought it up. All four of her wins essentially gate to wire fashion. That's excluding the career debut where she was just much better than those horses at Indiana Grand. And I kind of feel like the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, when she chose to rate off, or the connections chose to rate off of the pace, to me that kind of exposed her as a need the lead type. And if she doesn't get it all her own way, I don't know that she's capable of a performance big enough to win this race. I don't think she makes the front. I don't like her.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's going to be really hard for her to win this race if she can't make the lead, and I don't think she's going to be able to do it with motion here. We'll see how it all plays out. I do sort of agree with Dan that she's the X factor. I think she's dangerous because at least you know that if she somehow finds a way to run her best race, she is going to be really tough to beat in this race. Listen, I don't like her that much. I am not betting. I would never bet her to win in this race. I think I will use her defensively in multi-race wagers, though.
There are two also eligibles in this race, but completing the body of the field, Mike, is the 14 Restless Rider. And before the post position draw, I really wanted to rate Restless Rider highly. She won the Alcibiades around 2 turns as a 2-year-old. She chased Jaywalk in vain when that one got to the lead in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. I thought she ran well in that race. And I thought Kenny McPeek had a plan. One race and have her ready for the Kentucky Oaks. And I liked the race in the Ashland. Speed favoring track. She tried hard. She got beat by a neck. She just takes the worst of it from a post position standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, maybe she does. I don't really care about the post position. I don't think she drew that badly in post 14. There's supposed to be a fast pace in here that will stretch this field out, and she's supposed to get a trip in this race. I believe that she's every bit as good as anybody else in here, and I think she's a huge contender in this race. I know that if you look at her last 2 starts, she easily could have won both, and she didn't win either. But this filly has run well at every one of her starts, and I think she's a huge player in this race.
I agree. I agree. I think she's got a big chance in here. I think she slots right over there. Let those speeds to the inside go. She works out a nice trip in here. Maybe she's a little wide going into the first turn, but boy, that Ashland, I thought she ran bang up considering that was her first start off the bench. And then the run 2 starts back, give her the benefit of the doubt. That wasn't the goal all along.
Wide open race if you think you can beat Bellafina, and I think there are enough holes in Bellafina that we can take shots against at prices. We throw up our picks for the Kentucky Oaks. 3 different opinions. Matt, let's start with you. Lady Apple, 20-1 on the morning line in raging form.
I just think she continues to improve, and that's kind of what I'm looking for in a race like this. I feel like Bellafina may have plateaued a little bit. We've brought it up with some of these other girls that, maybe they're not fast enough or they haven't shown that they're battle hard, and maybe Lady Apple had everything go her way in the fantasy. I love that she didn't give up when she was down in tight. We've seen a number of better horses pack it in when things get a little bit tight in there. I like that she went on with it. I think she continues to improve, and she's going to be a price.
Mike, let's go with your top selection, the speed of the speed.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with motion. I know it's not going to be easy for her, guys. I just like her last 4 races, even the two wins before the last 2 starts in graded stakes. I thought she ran great in her last 2. I know there's a lot of speed in here. It might work against her, and maybe it'll be too much, but she's too big a price for me to ignore. I put her on top. I went 8, 14, and 10.
I'm going to take a shot with the 10 Champagne Anyone. Felt pretty in blinkers last time out. Versatile running style. Think she can take advantage of a fast pace. Like that she has progressed with the slight progression in distance, and I don't think 1 1/8 miles is going to be difficult for her. Champagne Anyone, my top pick in the Kentucky Oaks. It's Friday's race of the day, and as an approximate post time of 6:12 Eastern, good luck.